Everyone has already started drafting, and it's another big draft weekend. And if you're going to be looking for bounce back players, look no further, because it's me, Jagger, and that's Dan Fornek, and this is a bounce back episode. And you specifically talk about offensive linemen. We use your offensive line rankings over at RotoWire.com. You can check those out. Incredibly helpful, particularly with running backs and a lot of the players we're talking about right now. And you're over as Establish the Run as well.
I'm truly it's FTN. It's if you're looking at Player Profiler, if you're looking at Rotoballer, if it's got Roto or if it's got an acronym in the name, I'm probably right in there somewhere. So RotoWire.
You're like the offensive lineman dude. You're like
right. We're just bouncing ever. If someone asks, the answer's always yes, right?
Yeah. Right off the top, a big name, Saquon Barkley. The offensive line wasn't healthy. More importantly, the scheme just absolutely sucked here. And where you've had them ranked, and if you're penciling in anyone who can have a better year based on just an offensive line improvement and honestly any other scheme, this is the easy layup here. But more importantly, we don't know much about this scheme. Do you have any insight or anything like that, what we should expect from Saquon?
Yeah, so I think it's important. They had a couple big names going into the offseason. Landon Dickerson, their left guard, Lane Johnson, their right tackle. Those guys were contemplating retirement. This has been, the cream of the crop offensive line for years now. It's part of the reason why when Saquon Barkley signed here, we were so excited for it. Getting those two back brings back their starting five from last year. There's some injury risk. We don't really know what Sean Mannion is. He comes over from Green Bay. So that's a system that we really like. We hear that, okay, they are one of these teams that's going to be committing to going under center more, which is a good thing for the run game, because it just makes everything less predictable. If a running back is lined up in the backfield behind a quarterback, he could go left or right instead of in shotgun where he's kind of stuck going on a certain path. The big thing that could throw a wrench in their plan, Jeff Stoutland's been their offensive line coach. He's a legend. He's one of the best in the game. He's no longer with the team. Kind of had a falling out, it sounds like, last year. New coaching staff brings in their own guy. So for me, the starting five, as long as those starting five are healthy, we should definitely be stock up. Where losing a coach like that could possibly be a concern is, okay, if somebody gets hurt, coaching is a good way to elevate the floor of a group, right? We use the coaches and the scheme to elevate our floor. We use the starters, the depth, the talent, and all that stuff to elevate the ceiling. So if Lane Johnson, who kind of got dinged up in practice yesterday, is hurt, and they have to start dipping into that depth, what does that look like? Markel Bell has looked good this preseason, but it's also preseason and things are kind of vanilla. So yes, as long as the starting five are healthy, Saquon in that second round range is perfect. Absolutely take the shot. Good bounce back candidate. But if we start seeing some injuries crop up, it's maybe time to maybe move him towards the bottom of that tier, somewhere closer to Derrick Henry than, the 1-2 turn.
That kind of reminds me, a couple of years ago, back when Brady was still at the Patriots, Dan Scarnecchia, he retired. Mm-hmm. Worst offensive line ever. They're like, buddy, it's like the spy movie or thief movie. We need you back for one more job,
Right. Exactly. And then, and somehow that one job always seems to go sideways. Right. And it's
every time,
why did I do this?
Every time. So let's hope that at least the offensive line coach change isn't a problem, but it's always one of those things where I think, like you said, with the talent that they have along that front, they are kind of scheme proof players. We don't really think about that with offensive linemen like we do with wide receivers, quarterbacks, and such, where literally they're so good that you could be an absolute, the dumbest monkey at the zoo and probably pull it off a little bit. All right. Next player I want to talk about a little bit. I don't want to say spicier, but a lot of people have been sour on Baker Mayfield. Mm-hmm. And it's one of those things where he gave us a top 5 QB season after being basically, if you're in one QB, you weren't drafting him. In Superflex, you had a huge discount. He was the easiest buy for dynasty managers, and then he falls off the cliff again. a lot of that was injuries to the offensive line. A lot of that was just injuries to the entire team in general. I'm way back in. This is your number 3 offensive lineman here. So this could be like, this is a Baker segment, but this is really about the entire offense as a whole because of that offensive line.
Yeah, for sure. So last year with Tampa Bay, Tristan Wirfs was already, on moving over to the left side. He had been doing that. He gets banged up in preseason. He misses the start of the year. And so a lot of times, a team will have, okay, we have a depth, we have a swing tackle. But with Tampa Bay, their solution to that was Graham Barton, who is their center, former first round pick, played left tackle at Duke. They moved him to left tackle. So now you're taking the centerpiece of your offensive line, you're putting him at left tackle while Tristan Wirfs is getting healthy. By the time Tristan Wirfs gets healthy, Cody Mauch, their right guard, gets hurt. So now they're filling in at the right guard position. They only had one player in their entire starting 5, the guys that they projected to be their starting 5 going into the season. Only one player, Graham Barton, played more than 800 snaps last year. He's the only one who played more than 12 games last year. And so this group just being healthy is what raises the entire operation. Baker Mayfield is healthy. It sounds like Egbuka might be a little bit banged up. He's dinged up right now. But I view Tampa Bay as one of these offenses in fantasy this year where it's like, I don't really care which piece I'm getting. They're just a team where it's like, I'm fine drafting any of, like, Bucky Irving going at the end of that, like RB 23, 24, 25 range. Sign me up. I like the offense. Zach Robinson's a new offensive coordinator there. He was with the Falcons. That's a good unit. If you don't want to take Bucky early, take Kenneth Gainwell, who I also like, because he's going to run behind that offensive line and catch passes. Baker is healthy. If you want to take the chance on Egbuka's foot, that's fine. If you like going vintage and like Chris Godwin in the slot, sign me up, right? Jalen McMillan late, Ted Hurst late if you are in deeper leagues. It's just one of these teams where it's like, you believe in the quarterback. We know that he's capable of throwing it around. If the line in front of him is healthy, there's no reason to really have doubts going into the season. So wheels up.
Yeah, and I like what you said, is you just want pieces of this offense, because I was talking about how, like, it's not SEO friendly for YouTube at all. Mm-hmm. This isn't like something you want to see. It's like 5 must draft players. It's like, what are like the 5 most okayest ADPs out there? And like Bucky Irving's there. Like he's one of these players where I don't want to draft him any earlier, and I don't think he should fall any layer or later. He's perfect right where he's at, because for a while, people were really aggressive on him. Dynasty, it was nuts, man. Like he was like a top 10 dynasty running back for a little bit. And I'm like, guys, have we learned nothing about day 3 running backs? And it's not that I'm saying he's not good, but I think this is always going to be like a committee type backfield. And like you said, Kenneth Gainwell has been a thorn in every backfield side, to everyone's dismay. And I think we finally learned that, hey, if a team is bringing in Gainwell, they're going to use him. The only piece you don't want is Sean Tucker. Apparently it's not great for him over there. So that is the actual line. It's let's call it the Buccaneers Sean Tucker line.
If you're above Sean Tucker, by all means, fire away. And if you are Sean Tucker or lower, we could wait. We'll wait on that.
Yeah, we could wait. Like, we'll let someone else take that as their last pick. All right, before we go any further, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button. And if you're on a mobile device and it's available, hit the hype button. And like I said earlier, it's actual draft season for real. People are ripping drafts off on Yahoo, Sleeper, everywhere. And we have a draft assistant that works for you on all these platforms. And you can use my rankings. You can all go over to RotoWire.com and use Dan's offensive line rankings to help you out. We basically have anything that you need, whether you're just a novice and you need us to basically draft for you, or if you're a sicko and you want to just look at offensive line rankings yourself. And I got all my Dynasty stuff, and we're building more Dynasty tools for you. And I can give you that for 35% off if you just use the code JAG35 at checkout. And then one more thing, Splash Sports has an amazing contest that's going out right now. I need to rip off my entries. I don't know if Dan, if you're into like the Survivor stuff on there, but if you want on those contests, you can use RotoWire's code. Go over to RotoWire.com. I'll make sure to put that into the description, and you can use the $100,000 NFL Survivor and then the $50,000 touchdown Survivor. Lots and lots of contests.
Fantasy football season is right around the corner, and DraftKings is bringing you their biggest best ball contest ever. We're talking a massive $20 million in total prizes, making this the largest best ball tournament in DraftKings history. And this year, not just one, but 3 players are going to walk away as millionaires. And right now, our partners at DraftKings are giving all customers a can't-miss offer. Draft one, get one. Enter a lineup in the $20 million best ball contest for just $25, and you'll receive a bonus best ball ticket to play again free for a share of $20 million, giving you a second shot to be crowned a millionaire. It's simple. Just draft your team once, no weekly management. Let your top scorers automatically start each week. Every breakout star, every clutch play, and every touchdown counts towards your shot at a share of $20 million. Download the DraftKings Daily Fantasy app and enter a lineup for the $20 million best ball contest for just $25 and get a bonus ticket to play free for another shot to win big. That's 2 shots without ever setting your lineups again in DraftKings' biggest best ball contest ever. Draft one, get one, only on DraftKings. The crown is yours in partnership with DraftKings. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. New York, call 877-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. 18 plus in most states. Restrictions apply. 1 per customer. Enter the Best Ball 20 million headliner contest to get 1 bonus entry. $25 entry fee required. Reward expires at contest lock September 9th, 2026. See terms at DraftKings.com/promotions. Sponsored by DraftKings.
I think I'm done paying the bills. I want to talk about Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
This is good offensive line, but doesn't matter. Doesn't matter for Jonathan Taylor, you know?
So Jonathan Taylor, first of all, he deserves to go in the first round, right? It sounds like Seth McGowan, rookie out of Kentucky and many other places, is going to be his backup. That's a 7th round pick, late round, day 3 guy. So like the touch competition is non-existent there. So that's part of the reason and he's an insane talent. What I like about this offensive line is they return 4 starters from last year, 4 guys that played over 900 snaps together. Continuity to me is super important when it comes to offensive line. It's one of those things where there's less communication. You know what the guy next to you is going to do. You know what to expect. Their offensive line coach, Tony Sperano Jr., son of a legend coach at the NFL. He's been awesome ever since. He was awesome before when he was with the Giants and teams before that. So it's like the operation is clean. Everything is good. Their right tackle, Jalen Travis, he got to play a little bit last year because Braden Smith got banged up. He had 300 snaps played. So, you know, if you wanted to be concerned about that, that's perfectly fine. But Jonathan Taylor, the talent, this unit is fine. They got some okay depth behind with some experience. The question is going to come down to what is Daniel Jones? This year more so than ever before. We're seeing guys across the board come back from these injuries that were always like career-altering things, whether it's an Achilles with Daniel Jones and, you know, some other guys like that. You have Ozzie Trapilo coming back from a patellar tendon, which, like, as an offensive lineman and someone who's done a patellar tendon, it's like, I can't imagine a worse injury for that position. And he's already back in training camp, you know, not doing 11 on 11, but like he's hitting, he's in pads, he's doing stuff. So it's like, what does that look like? Can Daniel Jones be effective enough to pass the ball? Because when he was healthy last year, you know, Jonathan Taylor was top 15 in success rate. He had a 44% success rate. But then when things kind of went off the wagon, and, you know, you can ask how good is Phil Rivers? We found out better than what they had, but not very good.
Not very good.
You know, right. How much did that impact things? So Jonathan Taylor, I think he's a reasonable first round pick. If people like, you know, scoring formats, if you're more of a James Cook person or something like that, that makes perfect sense to me. But I believe in the offensive line. It's just, you know, what is Daniel Jones going to give you, and how is he going to be able to keep defenses from just putting 8 guys in the box and trying to force Jonathan Taylor to be different?
That's where I'm at. And Alec Pierce is a part of that equation too, because he has a key function in that offense. And it's not that Josh Downs, he was one of my favorite players to scout during that year, because it was such a unique set of slots, because it was like Zay Flowers, Jaden Reed, Josh Downs during that draft class. Josh Downs was actually the best 50-50 guy out of the class. That includes Quentin Johnston. I was just like, Josh Downs is actually better at 50-50 balls than Johnston. So but we haven't seen that from him in the NFL because they haven't deployed him like that. But Alec Pierce, for what he is, he's good at his job, which is clearing things out and making plays downfield. And if that was going to be an expanded role, I think that would have been great for the entire offense as a whole, including Tyler Warren, Josh Downs, and especially Daniel Jones. So he has easier options. He has more space to throw into. And, I joked, I was on James White's pod on the Money Down, and I asked him, I'm like, is Daniel Jones good? I'm not sure, man. We had the 1.5 together. We've had one season. We had like half a day ball season, half a Colts season, and then just straight dog shit in between that. Just like Vietnam helicopters. So I'm not ready to say Daniel Jones is good yet. Has Daniel Jones been healthy? No, he has not been healthy. So like, Jonathan Taylor's hard for me, and I find myself not just taking James Cook over him, but Chase Brown as well. And I know that's gross. We talk about offensive line. Like how far did I have to scroll down for the Bengals to get there? That was like some deep scroll.
You'll find
that's actually not terrible.
Right. I'm higher on them than a lot of people are, but there's questions with them too. And I know, we're trying to keep it moving, but like, how much when a lot of people they played much better down the stretch, right? That's a team where it's like, okay, they were better. Chase Brown was, who you needed in fantasy to finish out last year. But also Joe Burrow was like QB8 in time to throw. He's getting the ball out in 2.5 seconds, kind of like, because that's what Joe Flacco was doing when he was behind him too. So the question is like, are they better? They're obviously ascending. They have the pieces to ascend. Or was that just manufactured from Joe Burrow just throwing the ball and then teams having to sit back so Chase Brown has more rushing lanes? But yeah, like Chase Brown he's a very much a reasonable click over Jonathan Taylor if you have concerns over Daniel Jones. I agree completely.
Next, we're going to go to the Ravens here because Derrick Henry just feels right. It feels he's a Terminator player where I joke that Derrick Henry, we're not going to see the fall off season. He's going to be one of these players where he's just going to Forrest Gump. All of a sudden he's going to stop and he's just going to say, I think I'm ready to go home now. And then he's just going to retire. So as long as he's out there, I'm going to draft him. Tyler Linderbaum now finds himself at the Raiders. They could still afford everything after not trading Max Crosby. So I have a lot of cap questions that we're not going to talk about here. That's a different story for a different pod.
Right.
But Olavide Vega-Ione, I think he was the second best offensive lineman, arguably the best offensive lineman in this last draft. I'm a big Monroe Freeling guy. I think that the Panthers nailed it here. But Olavide Vega-Ione, he was just safe. If you just want a guy that's going to ball the fuck out in the center of your offense, he's that dude. So I think at the end of the day, it's a wash. I will say usually the center, and particularly one with experience, runs a lot of the offensive linemen in the communication. So that is huge. So it's more like, cool, you got an elite wide receiver. You got Justin Jefferson, but you traded away let's say like the Patrick Mahomes of centers for that. So like, what did you really gain?
So they're interesting because, again, like going back to the idea of continuity, right? So you bring back both your tackles. You draft Ioane in the first round out of Penn State, who I agree with your assessment. For me, he was the best lineman. That was he was and it's okay, positional value. It's a guard. Man, I just watched that dude destroy people in the Big Ten every single Saturday. And it's like, okay, like, don't overthink this. Like, he deserves to be that, first round guy. They bring in Ethan Pochik. He was with Cleveland, tore his Achilles late last year. The second he was cleared for camp, they brought him in as their replacement. They also had Danny Pinter. He's already injured. I think he did a patellar tendon during training camp, so that dings their depth a little bit at center. So if they were going to like piece it together, the interesting thing for me though is they brought back John Simpson. They had let him leave. He went to the Jets. He had been a Raven. He had been with the Ravens for a while before that. That helps their continuity because at least there's familiarity there. He's played with Ronnie Stanley. He knows what he's getting there, right? So I think for me, they came in basically smack dab in the middle. They are offensive line 14. I have optimism. We have a new offensive coordinator there. It's Declan Doyle. He was with Ben Johnson in the Chicago Bears last year. Before that, he was with Sean Payton in Denver. Like, this is someone who has, if I'm going to bet on, I'm leery of first-time play callers because last year there were 3 of them and they all don't have jobs this year calling plays. But if you're going to bet on one, bet on the guy who came up with Sean Payton and Ben Johnson now, right? We're getting to a point quickly where he might be one of those guys who just has a coaching tree. So I think it's going to be good. And I think Derrick Henry, like you said, he's a Terminator. If there was a nuclear attack tomorrow, it would be Twinkies, cockroaches, and Derrick Henry. Those are the 3 things I'd bet on surviving. So, it's one of those guys where the older he gets, the more you want to think about clicking the name. But like you click the name because if he's healthy, which he's never not been, you're going to get your 300 touches and it's going to look really good.
Yeah. Because even in Dynasty, I have my favorite league. It's basically my home Dynasty league at this point. It's actually an Empire league. And for those of you who don't know what an Empire is, it's Dynasty, but the plot gets split every year. Like half the pot goes to the winner. The other pot goes into a larger pool. And you have to get a certain criteria. Usually you might have to win twice in a row or something like that. And then you get the big pot there. So you could be going forever to hit that criteria, or you could hit it like one season, someone hit it in 2 seasons. This is a Pokemon league. I know this is nuts. You have certain things to earn certain badges, and you have to get all your badges before you can win the pot.
No, dude, I'm all about that. I like this. This sounds fun.
Yeah. And the way that it works, because you got to earn those badges, it makes it where everyone needs to be win now, right? Like it's Dynasty, but no one is going to be tanking because like you're disincentivized because you're getting behind the 8 ball of actually winning everything on it. So like Derrick Henry was falling in like, I think he was probably the last person I put in like my starting lineup in a super flex league in Dynasty. And I'm just like, boys, it's okay to win in Dynasty sometimes. So like Derrick Henry's one where if I know that I just need a running back and I have a team that is equipped to win and it's probably a late 27 first, I would just throw it out for Henry because you're doing the Rams thing. You're like, fuck them picks. I'm trying to get the W because Derrick Henry he's not an injury prone guy. He's literally the Terminator, guys. Last year he sucked to like still had like 1,000 yards, was like 10 touchdowns or something like that. Yeah. Like it was the best sucking I've ever seen. Oh, wow. Fix that in post.
That one. Yeah.
Oh man. Next, this is another, is this a bounce back? Are they healthy? Justin Herbert, man. Like Rashawn Slater already out. Son of a bitch. Let's all say it collectively.
Right.
Okay, we got some other dudes there. Tyler Biotish is now down. Son of a bitch. What are we going to do?
So this is a tough one. So as a positive, Slater's practicing again. He missed about 2 weeks, a little under 2 weeks. They never really said what it was because it's the preseason and they really don't have to. He's one of those guys coming off a patellar tendon. That's an injury. Even though we have guys coming back fast, it's an injury that I'm leery of. Was it a compensatory injury? Was it, something completely unrelated? We'll never know, but we do know it was enough to make him miss 2 weeks, right? And so Biotish, though, for me, that's a pretty big loss. Number one, they were insulated with this. They took Florida center Jake Slaughter in the second round of the draft. I think their initial plan was the hope that he could compete at left guard. It became pretty clear, it looked like during camp, that wasn't going to be a good choice for them. So then it becomes, okay, let's develop him, and hopefully if we need to plug him in somewhere, he's ready when he needs to be. Well, now it's, not even September, and he needs to be ready to be your starting center. I watched him in their second preseason game. he moves really well. I mean, he's a phenomenal athlete, which in Mike McDaniel's system, when you got the wide zone, you need your interior linemen to be able to move. You want to get horizontal displacement. You want to move people sideways, not vertically. So, that he moves really well. The technique, he was a little bit high. Cole Strange, the right guard, and him were getting tossed around a little bit. So, on one hand, you trusted Mike McDaniel. He's a genius. I mean, he just is. He's kind of at the forefront. One of the things I've been talking a lot about is how teams are using motion to get like big runs. If you hop on my Twitter account, you'll see me breaking down a play the Bears just had against the Bengals in the preseason. Mike McDaniel, according to, one of my websites, FTN Fantasy, the Miami Dolphins used motion on 84% of their run plays last year. And so like, that's a way to keep the defense moving, to get advantageous looks, to get advantages on the inside, even just to make people think. So with the Chargers, I'm concerned. I'm not sure what their interior looks like. I would have liked Biotish, someone with a little bit more experience and gravitas in there, just to calm everything down. But if Slater is healthy and Joe Alt is healthy, they can still get there in fantasy. It just might look a little bit different. Lad McConkey might just be getting way more, underneath stuff to make things happen. Get the ball into Quentin Johnston's hands. Let him run after the catch. Try and get Omari and Hampton and Keaton Mitchell out of the backfield. The inside runs might not be there, but I think you can make that work. It's just they were my number 9 offensive line before the Biotish injury, and after that, I dropped them down to 15 because like that, having that experience in the middle with what they have next to it, that felt like a pretty big loss to me.
Yeah, that's huge. Center is probably the most underrated position in on offense, I think, because of course, we know the skill positions get all the glory, and it's hard to be an offensive lineman in general. But then, like, tackles are the second, ball knowers will tell you, like, offensive tackle's the second most important position in football. But, like, really, the engine of the offensive line sometimes is the center. And it's particularly if you're in a run first or balanced offense, like, I think the Chargers want to be. I just. If everything works out, Justin Herbert is a top 5 quarterback. And like I said, we're talking about bounce back players. Really, it's just like a bounce back offense in general. The Chargers just had it rough last season. And I'm just still going to invest in them because they had literally no one on offensive line. Now they at least got their 2 bookends available. And like you said, the inside run may not be there, but this is an outside zone scheme. Right. A lot. So if there's anyone who can fix it, I think it's Mike McDaniel. And I love what you said about the motion. Seeing the rate at which a team does motion is a direct indicator of if they're a good offensive or not. Like it is.
Does your coach know football?
Yeah, man. What was it? Nathaniel Hackett. I don't know how he keeps getting jobs, man. I think he was running motion at like the lowest rate or something out the Jets. So it's some crazy. If you're in an Aaron Rodgers offense, you're not getting a lot of motion, guys. Right. That's why like Steelers fans are like, man, Michael Pittman's being disrespected. Like Michael Pittman was disrespected when he was sent to the Steelers to die. Like we're not disrespecting him for fading him, but that offense, I am going to fade.
Well, and even, just to go back to a point we made earlier, last season, the team with the lowest amount of attempts of motion at or before the snap in the run game, the Philadelphia Eagles. So that's another thing. Green Bay was, I think they were in the top 10. I don't know the exact number off the top of my head, but if Mannion brings that with him, if that's something they want, and I think you're starting to see it. You had, the big clip from training camp yesterday was Mekhi Lemon running a wheel out of the backfield. And it's like, okay, like if they motion to get him in the backfield, like that's something now that teams have to look at and think about. And it's like, okay, if they're bringing Mekhi Lemon and he runs a wheel, but then they hand it off to Saquon Barkley, defenses, their eyes are having to process all of that information instantaneously. That causes hesitation. There's a running lane. So when you've got a good offensive line and a good running back, the ways that you can dress stuff up, that's how you generate explosives.
Yeah. Motion and things like RPOs. Greg Olson said it best. They make 4-3 guys run 4-5 because they have to think. And that's the key in motion. And it just gets your guys open in space immediately. Last one here was Are you doing ETN or are you prescribed to the HN? Because like
I go with the crowd. Whatever. If we're gonna be ETN, we'll do it together. No one is alone here, right? So if you're ETN, I'm ETN.
I'm one where it's like, man, if you're gonna be called HN, I'll call you HN. But like, why did you wait until like what contract are we on now?
Right, contract. Well, he's back in he's in New Orleans, so it's like, okay, let's go with the regional dialect. This is how you say it, guys. It's HN. It's like, okay, cool,
nice. I was surprised at where you had the offensive line ranked. This was like a top 10 offensive lineman for you. And all the dominoes that's happened, because I feel like I've done the old snip snap on him, because I was way into him going into a Kellen Moore offense, knowing what this offense needed, which is consistent rushing. And then you looked at the efficiency numbers at the Jaguars, but the Jaguars are a bottom offensive lineman, because a lot of people, I was talking to someone in my mentions the other day about Woody Marks. A lot of people want to bring up yards per carry all the time. Yards per carry is as much an offensive line stat as much as it is a running back stat, in my opinion, just for the simple fact that if you don't have a good offensive lineman, you're going to be getting hit early. Right. Now he goes to a spot that you have a good lineman, injured Kamara. Now he's being faded pretty heavily. Does he have top 10 potential, if not higher, in this offense behind that offensive line?
I think so. So when you look at the offensive line, you have 2 first-round tackles, right? Kelvin Banks, who I liked Banks probably in that class more than Will Campbell. Membu was awesome too. I think all these guys had flashes. So you have the exciting left tackle that moves over Tali Fuaga, who was, you made a left tackle as a rookie. He was a right tackle in college. Now he's back on the right side. He got a little bit more comfortable last year. Their offensive line was able to survive like Eric McCoy. That's their center. He is constantly hurt, but when he's on the field, he is probably one of the best centers in the NFL. Even just in terms of their ability, in the last 2 seasons, he's played or he's given up just a pressure on 1.3% of the team's dropbacks. Like, that's an insane number. He kind of brings the glue together. Their big weakness was at left guard. They went out and signed the best guard in free agency, David Edwards. He's been with the Bills. So they addressed their biggest hole. They have 2 bookends, 2 tackles who are really, really good. The depth is super questionable, but like a lot of teams don't have offensive line depth. That's one of the problems in the NFL right now. So I like the Kellen Moore offense. I like the talent they have on their offensive line. I've been like you. I was a big ETN, HN. I'll just say both, right? We'll just do them both. I was all in.
ETHN.
Yeah, ETHN, right. I pulled back a little bit, but then once the fade started happening, it's like, okay, I'm back. He's 9th in all-purpose yards over the last 4 years among the running backs in the NFL. So it's like he is a first-round talent, and that's part of the reason why I struggle with Bhayshul Tuten, because what if Bhayshul Tuten isn't with the Jaguars isn't as good as him? Because he's objectively, if he was drafted in the 2nd round instead of the 1st, we'd probably be like, oh, this guy's amazing. Like, look at, because we love 2nd-round running backs in fantasy, right? But because he was a 1st-round pick, he can never be good. He'll never meet our expectations. But he's an objectively good running back on a better offense than he was on last year, environment-wise. Liam Cohen is really good. So, yeah, draft Travis Etienne, ETHN. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Get them all.
I love that you brought up for those of you that listen all the time, I'm sorry for inundating you with the Tuten hate on here, but it's the multiple things where I say it's like, yes, Tuten is a great prospect in a vacuum, but horrible offensive line. And then you've got what I call piranhas, where, yeah, I don't think like Tuten's the biggest fish out there for sure. But LaQuinn Allen, I don't quite know what's going on with that injury. But if he's going to be out there, he's going to eat in the 3rd down. Chris Rodriguez is going to snipe a lot of the early down work and a lot of the goal line work. What is the actual upside of him that we're going to be chasing? Because like people are like, well, he could be a top 5 guy. I just don't see that path with all the things around him. And I do think they're still going to be throwing a lot. And he doesn't have a real receiving profile. I feel like a lot of people are taking a little bit of receiving and making it a lot of receiving. They're like, well, he caught passes at Virginia. Like, yeah, he caught passes, but he wasn't like a receiving guy. So
Right. Yeah, he was not there. He was not some, we're doing crazy wheel routes and stuff. They're getting him in space and getting him the ball, which is what you want to do. There's just more space in college because of all the hashes and stuff. So it's a little bit easier to isolate guys like that than it is in the NFL.
Exactly. Well, that'll do it. Those are my bounce back players. Dan, thank you for showing up. This guy's literally everywhere, and everyone in the industry uses his offensive line rankings. So when I say that we got the best, I truly did bring the best along here.
I appreciate that.
Thank you guys. Make sure to hit the like and subscribe button. And make sure to go over to rotowire.com, look at those offensive line rankings. And we also have the all access pass as well, which gives you everything, including you can talk to me in the Discord. I do a lot of my dynasty questions in there, not so much on Twitter anymore. And I think that'll do it. Use my code JAG35 at checkout. It's me, Jagger May. That's Dan Fornek. And I love you guys, and I'll see you next time.